Hello and welcome back to another video for Final Fantasy XIV with me, Meoni. First of all, I must say, if you're watching this, please turn away if you've not done the 6.2 MSQ. I'm going to give you a few extra seconds because some people have autoplay enabled on their videos. I just wanted to do a playthrough of something that's a side quest that you actually unlock after the actual 6.2 MSQ. So that should have given people plenty of time. Okay, so obviously this is going to be very rich with spoilers since this is post-MSQ. Now, I wasn't aware of this at first. It was actually made aware to me by one of my FC members. But if you come back to Radzat Han near the Megaduta, you will actually find one of these NPCs providing quite an interesting backstory. I've not done it myself yet, so I thought we'd do it together. I thought that would be a nice addition. So let's go and have a look through this. So it's called Shadowed Pasts. Now, the reason I think this would be worth doing, by the way, is simply because I think that there'll probably be a minion reward at the end of it. Probably not in this part, but I have been told that it doesn't feel finished. So it's likely this will be a side quest series that goes alongside the MSQ. Obviously, just for a bit of fun. So let's see what happens. And if you saw in the MSQ this little thing running away, well, yeah. Okay, let's see what this can possibly, get towards. Ah, Mistress Meoni, you couldn't have appeared at a better time. You see, while out patrolling the city, I chanced to have sight of voidsent. Yeah, we saw it in the cutscene, if I remember correctly. I immediately chased it down with the intent of eliminating it, but something about it struck me odd. For one, it made no move to defend itself, but simply sat there, jiggling, which is why, against my better judgment, I decided to capture it instead. Having travelled to the void, I dare say you have considerable knowledge of its denizens. If you have a moment, might I trouble you for your opinion on the creature's unusual behaviour? Yeah, leave it to me, I'm monster expert now, obviously. Add that to the criteria, alongside Warrior of Light, Defender of Worlds. I'm truly grateful. Now, if you would follow me, the creature is being held in the Hall of the Radiant Host. Wouldn't it have been a better idea to keep it outside of the city? I mean, call me old-fashioned, but voidsent of any description, surely that would have been better if, kept away from the city in case of, I don't know, just call me old-fashioned. Ah, yes. The joys of having Aetherites. Right, where are we going? Okay, into the Radiant Host. So this is actually something, this is a place that we went to when we were doing the role quests, if you remember, which were varied in the quality of them. I really enjoyed them. Oh, there he is, look. Well, that's not really imprisoned, is it? Look at him. He's like, the voidsent glowers in your direction, but says nothing. That's a bit strange, really, isn't it? What's even going to transpire here? Here it is. Surprisingly docile, even when I captured it, and there have been no reports of attacks prior to that. Even so, it's the nature of voidsent to prey on people for their ether. Perhaps it bides its time, waiting to carry out some manner of scheme. Oh no, it's got a voice on. Let's try and do a really bad voidsent voice. Oh dear.
You, I remember you. Yes, you were at Troya. Please, you must help me.
You're at a castle? I don't remember this guy actually.
Indeed I was, but I've since fled here. I understand the mortal tongue well enough, but I don't have a mouth to produce the sounds. It's been a struggle to convey my thoughts. But not anymore. You can help me. Yes, you can.
Alright, so this is us trying to explain what we saw. You can converse with a voidsent? Amazing! Could you ask it why it came here? Sure. So little blob guy, why are you not in the void still? What's your purpose?
When you and yours stormed the castle, I was caught up in the fighting and died. In time I returned, but I tire of fighting, so I fled, using the gate to your world. Having just been reborn, however, my essence hadn't fully bound together yet, and so when I emerged from the gate, it was several sundered selves. Frightened and confused, they scattered. Following their trail led me here, my diminutive self, allowing me to remain largely unseen. But by the same token, I can do little more than sneak about. Each of us was weak and powerless. That's why we were consumed one another in the first place. Together we were strong. I want you to help me find all of me, so I can be whole again.
Oh man. You wish to strike a bargain then? Yeah, because everything's paid in ether, right? Maybe you can give me your ether.
Yes, I would. To be whole again and live in this world, I would strike 1,000 bargains. We still remember the past, you see. Still remember when we were mortals. We long to have that life again, but we need your help, starting by reuniting us. We won't try to devour anyone, even when we're whole, I swear. You wish to learn more about the Void, yes? There is much we can teach you about those who rule its domains, about their past. Find the others, and they'll tell you all they know. No eating, no tricks. Do we have a bargain?
Well, I guess so, right? What's our choice? Let this, poor defenseless slime ball back to the Void? So it crossed over to our world to escape conflict, and now it searches for the rest of itself? I understand voidsent are quite reliable when it comes to fulfilling a pact, and I dare say having one as an ally would benefit our research into their world. Very well, if you would be so kind as to search for its kin, I will consult my superiors on how best to deal with them. Sounds like a plan, doesn't it? Let's do it. Let's figure this out.
By that I take we have a bargain. Good, good. I sense 4 others close by. When you find them, you need only point them in this direction. Once they sense my presence, I can guide the rest of the way.
Alright. I guess it's just like we're finding little droplets to join with him. What does he say?
Like me, the others have an interest in the lives of mortals. They are bound to be here, in this city.
So they've been here all this time and no one's noticed? My thanks again for your help. If you could see the other voidsent back here, I will tend to the rest. Okay. So we're looking for squidgy boys. Alright, where's the nearest squidgy boy? I see squidgy boys in this room according to the minimap. Oh no. Oh, hello.
What's that? I asked you to search for me in exchange for knowledge about powerful voidsent. I was still wanting to see this and that, but I suppose a deal is a deal.
Nice. We got one.
Those men over there, soldiers are they not? We used to have soldiers in our world too. There were lots of them during the Contra Memoria.
Ah, back from Weaver's Warding, are you? I hear you fought well against a voidsent that slipped through. Come now, I merely did my duty. Haven't we all sworn to protect our nation, no matter the cost?
Protect our nation. How familiar those words. Where was it I heard them? Ah, yes. It was the early days of the Contra Memoria. The enemy had conjured a terrible eidolon that laid siege to a fortress. The garrison was made up of ordinary soldiers, men and women with no remarkable abilities. but led by their valiant commander, they fought bravely and desperately. They had to last until the Memoriat arrived. The commander told them this, needed to hold out no matter the cost. The Memoriat did eventually arrive, but not soon enough for the soldiers. Having struck down the Eidolon, the Memoriat and his servants searched the castle for survivors. They found only the dead. But just when they had given up all hope, a faint groaning reached their ears. They rushed over to the sound and cleared away debris. To find a lone survivor, the garrison commander. Instead of joy, however, the sight of a man filled them with anger.
Your soldiers are slaughtered to a man. Yet there's barely a scratch on you. What's the meaning of this? The Eidolon was savage, but mindless. It was simple. It was a simple thing to hide myself beneath fallen debris. Hide? As commander, you had a duty to your men. You were supposed to put their lives before your own. Spare me. My duty was to ensure the fortress stood, and it did. Besides, my death would have achieved nothing. Honor be damned. No, I'm sworn to protect our nation, and to do that I must live. It isn't my fate to fall here. Isn't your fate, you say? Is he merely unconscious? Come, let us bury the soldiers and their commander with them. Fate shall decide what comes of him, whether he lives or dies. Very well, my lord. Wow, what a bunch of butts. Burying a dude alive? That's not nice. Oh man.
Funeral rites were later held for the fallen, but solemn tears quickly gave way to horrified screams as a body emerged from the earth. The commander. I can't die, I must live, the man is said to have declared. The people thought him a demon, a disheveled horror, muttering curses as he wandered off to regions unknown. Scar Miglione, they called him, a name befitting his newfound grisly visage, a name befitting a monster. We thought we buried him deep, but a mortal's desire to live is not to be underestimated. You're a mortal, so I expect you to understand that desire. Well, that concludes my tale. I'd best rejoin myself, if you'll excuse me.
Well, he's just adorable, isn't he? I'm going to call him Blinky. Because he's Blinky. That's the only thing I've got. Well, this is a lot more rich in storyline than I expected, to be perfectly honest. I thought this was going to be a lot less detailed, and I'm happy that I was wrong. Very happy. So what are we doing in here then? Okay, there's another part of him.
So, this is where mortals consume ether.
That's right, we eat food.
dreading loneliness more than hunger. How very like me. If you don't mind though, I'd like to observe the mortals a while longer.
Okay. Is he getting hungry? Hope not. The food here is simply sublime, while I feel stronger with every bite, as if the Marga themselves were granting me their blessing. The food is tasty, that's true enough, but no food is so sublime as to be substitute to the proper training, my friend.
Stronger with every bite, every feed. For my part of the bargain, I will tell you about how we voidsent became strong. Simply put, it depends on the quality and quantity of ether we harbour. When the world was consumed by darkness, the heroes known as Memoriates arose as powerful voidsent. In contrast, the vast majority of mortals, powerless and unremarkable as they were, became ordinary voidsent like me. There were exceptions, of course, but one in particular I'll never forget. Scar Miglione. Never had I seen a voidsent so craven. Even when pushed to the brink of starvation, he would prey only on those weaker than himself. He subsisted on scant cleavings, and lived in constant fear and hunger. In the face of danger, a voidsent stronger than himself, fleeing was the only option. But a day came when he found his way barred.
How pitiful. Oh, it's Golbez. Nice.
Such overwhelming ether. Who is this?
You fled instead of facing your foe. Why?
Why? I'm too weak. Why else? I would have been devoured.
So you had enough strength. You would have stood your ground. Very well, then. Oh, this is how it all began. Interesting.
What's happening? Yes, I feel it. The power swelling within me.
Lo, your foe returns. Oh, wow.
What have you done to me?
I granted you but a sliver of ether. 'Twas with the power you already possessed that you defeated your foe.
I possessed such power?
Fear had clouded your eyes, blinded you to the strength you had attained feeding on the weak. If you would free yourself from fear, then join me. You shall have a greater cause to live for and know true power. Oh, he was there all that time.
Curious how, in a world without death, the fear of it could be the key to great strength. The knight recognized this, recognized the voidsent's potential, and thus did he take him into his service. Determined as he is to live, it wouldn't surprise me if he was still somewhere out there. It'd be even more powerful now, I'd expect, from all the devouring you would have done since. Unlike your world, eating actually makes you stronger in hours. Well, I must be going now. The others are waiting.
Interesting. Wonder if we'll see a Scar Miglione Part 2. I would imagine so, right? Well, I guess he was... No. Because he was turned to crystal, right? Those crystals seem a little bit suspicious. Like, something bad's going to happen, right? That's my educated guess as to what might happen. So we've got another one in here in the airship landing. Somewhere. Where are you? Hello, Mr. Squidgy? Oh, there he is. He's hiding behind a box. What are you doing?
Ah, what a refreshing breeze. Time to return to the others? Ah, they should have come here. Would you look at this beautiful boundless sky? Mortals take to the air from here, do they not? Would that I had wings to soar among the clouds myself.
I mean, it is pretty out there.
But we voidsent are not wont to roam, you see. The mightiest among us carve out domains, while the rest labour to stay in their good graces. Now the master of a domain seldom ventures outside, for it is in one's territory that one is strongest. For some, however, such confinement proved trying, as was the case for a certain voidsent I knew. I speak of the three-spirital terror, Barbariccia. When she first established her domain, she whiled away the days waiting for her minions to bring her prey. The ether amassed from these offerings were devoured to the singular pleasure of caring for her silky flowing locks, but the resources of her domain were not without their limits. It was only when none remained to oppose her that she realized she was a prisoner in her own domain, and unless she broke free, she would inevitably wither away alone. Not knowing what to do, she had fallen into the depths of despair when the hand of salvation came to pull her out.
At this rate, my precious hair will frazzle and fray, had I only the strength to leave my domain. If strength is your desire, then it is easily granted. Who are you? Ah! So much power surging through me! And what will you do with that? What is your desire? What is it I desire? What I desire is... to blow things away? You would move your very domain? Impressive. But I can do such a thing. What have you done to me? I granted you ether, nothing more. It was your will that made it possible. My will? Even so, no matter where you should go, there is naught but darkness. What could you and your destination possibly be? Destination? I have no need of such. I wish to be free like the wind.
In a world that was met its end, rare indeed is the soul who desires freedom so ardently that she could her very domain to move. A will, oh my god. Recognizing this quality, the knight would grant her more power and a place of command in his mighty army. A story worth a vile bargain, I trust. I might have more to tell had I not fallen off her domain. It seems you mortals also have your fondness for flying. I'd certainly like to try riding one of these airships of yours. But perhaps another time, my other selves will be blubbering masses if I don't hurry up and rejoin them.
Interesting. Very interesting. And then the final squidgy boy. Let's see if we can find him. Where be he? Squidgy boy. Ah. He's at Karma. Okay. Just around the corner. Yeah, so far this is quite an insightful little side story, isn't it? I'm surprised, actually, of its existence more than anything. But yeah, I'm excited to see what happens.
My other self grows lonely, you say? My apologies. It was my intent to seek out the others, but I was distracted by the bickering pair of mortals yonder. My goodness, but there's been some colourful language.
Deals with your father. You shouldn't need his permission just to leave the goddamned house.
Please, mind your language. What would father say if he were to hear you?
Oh, it's always father this, father that with you. I'm sick of it. You're the own woman now. Bloody act like it for a change.
Colourful language, yes. Not from a girl, though. Oh no, she appears to be quite well bred. I just hope she's happier than a girl I knew. Long ago. That girl was born into a family of thugs who suddenly found themselves nobility. She was raised as a noblewoman and had servants tending to her every need, but in the end she was merely a beautiful bird kept in a gilded cage. Wanting her to be a proper lady, her parents presided over all aspects of her life. They decided everything for her, telling her what to say and do. Chafing from the fetters of her restricted life, she solicited her handmaiden's aid and stole outside the manor, where she enjoyed a moment of bliss, unbeknownst to her parents. Or so she thought. It was not long before her father dragged her back to her room, barring the door and windows, denying her even the simple pleasure of an afternoon breeze. Even a bird in a cage may chirp freely, but she wasn't even suffered to give voice to her desires. But she wouldn't be deterred. Having once tasted sweet freedom, she yearned for more, and one day she succeeded in sneaking out of the manor a second time.
You're late. I was beginning to think you wouldn't come.
If you're expecting your friends, I'm afraid they're not coming.
Father, what do you mean they're not coming?
I had known that some miscreants were cavorting in these parts, but to think that they dare to consort with my daughter, Well, you needn't worry about them anymore. They're food for the fishers now.
How could you do this, Father? Why must you torment me so?
Know your place, girl. You are a means for our family to gain influence, and I won't have you sullying yourself with riffraff.
Oh God, not the axe.
Will you not leave your chambers, save my permission, nor will you disobey me again? If you do so, there will be severe consequences. Am I understood? I said, am I understood?
To hell.
What did you say?
Oh, he's getting it. Oh. Wait, what? Oh. I said, go to hell. Oh my God, that is dark for Final Fantasy. Holy moly. Oh my God, that's amazing. They went there. Oh my God, it's in the back of his head. Oh, jeez. Oh, to think that it could be so exhilarating to speak my mind, to do as I please. No more living in a cage. From this moment on, I am free. Free as the wind. Wow.
The young woman struck out on her own, and in her travels discovered her true calling, not in the halls of lords and ladies, but on the battlefield. She became a force of nature, famed for her striking beauty, which belied a terrible savagery. And with this new life she was also claimed a new name, Barbariccia. Indeed, she found her freedom. But should she also find happiness, I wonder? I suppose I'll never know, nor does it matter, for a world that once was is no more. Oh, but goodness me, I had better rejoin the others.
That is probably the darkest part of the storyline I've seen in the MSQ, like a side quest part of the MSQ. You have found the last of the voidsent, time to head back. That is quite surprising. Also, that dealt with like manipulation and, you know, abusive parents. That hit quite close to home in a lot of ways for a lot of people, I would imagine. Oh my goodness, I just fell miles. You know, that's surprising that they would touch that, but it's also good that they did. But my goodness, the retribution was swift and deadly. I did not expect that at all. But I'm glad they did. That's really, really quite fun to see that kind of storytelling. These are really good, these side quests. I would highly recommend doing these. Oh, look, there they all are. They're kind of adorable in a weird sort of lumpy way, right? Lumpy, yeah.
Thank you so much for finding me. I hope the knowledge I had to share was worthy of our agreement.
I mean, yeah, more than worthy, I'd say. You told me of Miglione and Barbariccia. Or Barbariccia. I'm bad at pronunciation, I'll be honest with you. Especially when it comes to Italian names. So, respect where respect's due. I'm just terrible at English language. Or any other language.
My other selves lived quite disparate lives, both as mortals and voidsent. Though I suppose it is rather fortuitous that they crossed paths with such powerful voidsent. But more importantly, what they could offer was worthy of our bargain. For that I am glad. All that remains now for us to rejoin and become whole again. Huh? Is this not all of me? There can be no other explanation. There is still more of me lost out there somewhere. But I don't sense them. Where could they have gone?
Yeah, we'll be on the lookout and we'll find them. You mean there's more of them wandering about? Why, the sisters. At the very least, if what you say is true, they pose no threat to the people. Until the others can be found, we'll keep these 5 under our care. Alright, sounds like a plan.
Should I sense the others nearby? I hope we can count on you to find them too.
I certainly will. And also, Hectai's, the clue is in the name. There should be 6 of you, presumably. Or maybe more, right? Who knows? You might be like Octo-Eyes or something. I have no idea. That was quite fun. That was a really good side quest. It's not very often you can really say that. Well, you can actually, because 14 has a lot of really good side quests that go sorely underused and underutilized. Let's see what else they have to say quickly.
Would you tell us if your recent ventures when you next return? I promise to make it worth your while.
Absolutely. You needn't worry about these voidsent. Not a one shall escape my sight. Like they did last time in that cutscene. Honestly, I'm very surprised that existed, but at the same time, I'm happy it did. This could be the beginning of something new. I mean, that we could get like some kind of new minion as a reward eventually, so I'm looking forward to possibly that. But honestly, the storyline does add credence to a lot of the characters, especially how they fit into a 14 world. It's all very well being like, hey, look, we brought bosses from Final Fantasy IV, but it's nice to see like how in this world, they add lore to them instead of just going, here's another boss. So yeah, Scar Miglione's story was kind of sad. Barbaricci's is probably the saddest. I can't wait to see what the others have to tell the tale of. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this. And, if you didn't watch that or you skipped through stuff or you don't want to go do the side story, hopefully that scratches the itch lore-wise. Much love. Enjoy the rest of your day. There'll be more 6.2 content on the way. And happy Rising today, by the way. Today, the 27th. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.